Imagine if TMZ was around back in 1994 for the OJ Simpson saga. What stories would they have broken way sooner than anybody else? Who would they have talked to and got information from that could have changed history? How much would they have paid to get some of the biggest scoops and interviews at that time? And what is the one mystery in true crime that if you had the power to find the answer to, you would want to have? We're going to get into all of that today. I'm Tom Zenner, Tom Zenner Scandal. This is the one and only Kato. Kaelin,
Hello.
Welcome to 1 Degree of Scandalous. We got a great episode today talking TMZ, their impact in pop culture and true crime, and the inner workings of it with one of their founders, one of the guys that was around when it started. You have been a frequent person that's been covered by TMZ. I was looking for the right way to say this. When's the last time TMZ talked to you?
I'm glad you just called me person. So thank you very much for that. The last time I saw it, I went to an event called Bare Knuckles. I was a guest of the promoter of Bare Knuckles at the Peacock Theater, which was the Nokia. Huge event. And walking in, TMZ was out in the street. And the thing about TMZ, when they film you and they always ask you questions. That's when I know they're TMZ, because the guy asked me a question and he said, "Hey, I'm so-and-so from TMZ. And Kato, what do you feel about blah, blah, blah?" So we did that. But my life goes back 30 years ago. Before TMZ started is where my relationship started with Harvey Levin as a friend in New York City.
Yep.
And this is a great tie-in because of our guest today,
yep,
who is incredible.
Yeah, when TMZ has those cameras rolling, y'all, he's got to be ready. Kato's always ready, including one time, we'll show it in a year and a half ago when you're just taking a stroll near Burbank and they happen to show up. There's an apple tree.
Oh, no, it was orange because they tied it to OJ.
Oh,
Come
that's
on,
right.
Tom, it's an orange tree making OJ. Come on, Tom.
Google OJ, Kato, TMZ. December of 2022, I think it was. And that was a pretty good story. All right, let's get into it. We got a fascinating guest today on 1 Degree of Scandalous. All right, we're going to get into it right away with Dax Holt. And Dax, so great to have you here today. There's so many things going on that we're going to talk about today. How TMZ would have handled the OJ saga back in the day. We're going to hit some of the biggest stories in pop culture right now. We're going to learn a little bit what the inner workings of what it was like to be at TMZ. But Dax, let me start with this, and I want your response, and then I'll get Kato's too. If you had access to the answer of one burning mystery in pop culture that hasn't been solved, something that's been a phenomenon news story, something that everybody in the whole world is buzzed about at one point. I've got mine that I want to know.
Okay.
But Dax, you've covered so many of these, on the front lines. If there was one answer to a pop culture true crime scandal mystery that you could get the answer to, what would it be?
Well, I think it would be the same answer that a lot of people would have, which is who actually killed Tupac. Like, that seems like a no-brainer. Everyone want to know what really went down, what happened. Give us more details. If you want something that is not true crime, I would say, is Suri Cruise really Tom Cruise's baby?
And how did she get?
I have so many conspiracy theories surrounding the birth of Suri that I'm like, I just need to know the answer.
Well, let's discuss that for a second. Do you have would you say it's less than 50% in your opinion that Suri is the byproduct of Tom Cruise?
Yeah, and this is me personally. Like, I just got so wrapped up into that because the Suri birth was like really one of the first big news story, like baby news stories while I was at TMZ years ago. And so to have watched the timeline and been like, really weird. She was dating Josh Hartnett, and then suddenly she's with Tom Cruise, and now she's pregnant, and she looks way more pregnant or further along than what we think she should be. And then, there was that, but there was photos that made it look like she had a fake belly on at some points. So there was so much during that time that I got looped into and pulled in. And then you just look at pictures of, Josh Hartnett. And Suri,
I never heard this.
By
the way.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
They really did a great job of keeping her out of the news. I know nothing about Suri.
Well, and Tom Cruise knows very little about her. He doesn't spend much time with her. I'm interested in it because
he spends no time with her. What are you talking about? Literally no time with her.
No time. And
I would say what made me feel really old is that Suri turned 18 the other day.
Yes, exactly. Which is the same age as my daughter. So they were born about the exact same time. Barron Trump was born almost at that exact same time.
You should go on your phone now, Tom, and say, Siri, how old are you, Siri? Siri, how old is Siri?
What do you think? Hey, along those lines, Kato, not to put you on the spot, but what about Khloe Kardashian and the real father? I mean, that's another one that's always speculated about.
You know what? I never even thought of that until someone brought that rumor up. If Tom's referring to if Khloe is if OJ's the father of Khloe, and I go, absolutely no way. And then you start hearing other rumors. And you go, wait a minute, maybe something happened. Maybe who knows? But I
can tell you,
doubt
OJ definitely not her dad. That is 100% not the case. They've said that numerous times.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I don't think so either.
Yeah, a lot of things were said numerous times when it regards to OJ. That's actually the truth, though. By the way, I love your Maury Povich impersonation there, Dax. OJ, you are not the father.
Not the father. And then he storms out and runs down the hallway.
I think there could be a chance he is the father. You know what? Until proven otherwise, anything is on the table when it comes to OJ. By the way, we're going to get into a lot of OJ talk today with Dax. Kato, before I get to your one mystery that you want solved, I'll say what mine is. It's who killed JonBenet Ramsey. Okay. I mean, I'd love to have a definitive answer there. I think the way that child was treated by everybody from such a young age. Dax, you have kids. Kato, you have a daughter. I have kids. I can't imagine exploiting my child to the level that they did. It's one thing to have a hobby and an interest, but to take it to that level. And then it's just so terrible happening on Christmas Eve, the ransom note with the dad, all the mystery and creepy drama that surrounded. I'd love to know. And it's too bad because, it's probably too late for any of them to be held accountable, but I'd love to have that answer.
It's amazing how many cover-ups there are in history with just cover-ups of this and Princess Di. What's the real story? And mine's really current, if you want to hear current.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really want to know, because I'm fascinated by this whole thing that happened with Trump assassination. What is there another shooter? And we're going to find out more and more that's coming up. It's my fascination, and how Kim Cheadle is the director of the United States Secret Service, how she got the job, how she's very dear friends with Jill Biden and Joe Biden. And there's just so many things. And I'm watching, everybody's got conspiracy theories, but I'm listening to the people that were snipers that worked for the Secret Service. I'm listening to all these professionals, and there's just, you get so much doubt. And I'm definitely on the side of, I hope there's a huge investigation, not by the FBI and not by the Secret Service, but by Congress, to find out, and they really go after this, that it's not a conspiracy theory. And certain things are just starting to make sense, that
a sniper crawling onto the roof, bear crawling like a military, professional at the age of 20, and them not doing anything about it. 140 yards from where the former president is speaking.
Every hour there's something new that comes out about it. Every hour, I just listen to it, and it has the laser sights of for distance. They see that, and he was checked out a half hour. The Secret Service had him in its scope a half hour, and whose order was it to stand down, to not shoot until he shoots at Trump? It just blows me away. I saw that you were thinking of, when I was saying that, you were ready to talk. I don't know. What's your feeling?
I just heard you say you think there could be a second shooter, because I hadn't heard that as a conspiracy theory at all, so it just caught me off guard.
It's all over X. All over X, they're showing it with videos. They're showing everything that there had to be. And
think about it. There was one person that shot the Zapruder film, right? There was one camera, and now there's going to be so many different angles and everything coming out. And every day there's new news. But yeah, we can continue to dive into that. Yeah, that's interesting. There's more to that story, no doubt about it. Hey, by the way, Dax, we might get the answer to who killed Tupac. I mean, when more information comes out with Diddy. Right? I mean, there's a possibility we could learn more.
I feel like some of these mysteries will just go into eternity of never having an answer. There's lots of big murders out there that you want to know. Just, I wish I could be the fly in the wall to see every detail of what happened, how it transpired, and so I could know the truth. What's funny though, you think about it and you're like, even if you knew the truth, how many people would actually believe you if you said exactly what happened?
Right. You'd have anything. Proof.
And I remember at that time I was working at KLSX. I had a radio show there, the fastest 2 hours in radio from 2 to 4. And I remember someone from Tupac's, one of his friends came in and said, I want you to play this song. And it was Shed No Tears. And I played it because they mentioned Kato in it. And I just remember that. And I didn't.
Was that Biggie?
No, it was someone that came in.
okay.
But yeah, no shit. They say there's a line that we can put in there about remember Kato. But I don't know a lot about Tupac like you do. I was always this alternative music, but I played the song on the radio show when I had it. That was in the 90s. Shows you how
we'll dig it up. As long as there's no licensing issues, we'll play a little bit of it here.
Yeah,
play less than 3 seconds of it. You should be good.
Yeah.
This is the part where it says, remember Kato. That's it.
All right. We have the one and only Dax Holt on the show today, host of Hollywood Raw with his partner, Adam Glynn. Great pop culture podcast. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't, because they're weekly. They have great episodes all the time. And you recognize his face because he was one of the originals on TMZ. And that's some of the stuff we're going to talk about today too, Dax. And, take the OJ scandal. And I said that Harvey Levin was one of the biggest things to come out of that. He owned it, as a local reporter for Channel 2. And I don't know if without the OJ scandal, if TMZ came around, maybe not. But I think that was one of the biggest byproducts from the OJ Simpson scandal. Put yourself in the shoes of the OJ scandal happening with TMZ around. How much differently would it have been covered? You guys, have access to information other people don't. You're able to get it. You were able to get it. How different do you think the OJ scandal coverage would have been if TMZ in its heyday had been around back then?
Oh my God. I mean, okay, there's two different things. This is TMZ existed back when the OJ happened, or OJ happened now.
Let's go back to 94.
Very different situations
exactly.
here.
If TMZ was around with the way you guys gathered news, information, talked to informants, whatever you did whatever. If this was 1994 and TMZ was around,
I think there would have just been a lot more details emerging a lot quicker. That's the one thing that I feel like from my years at TMZ, from all the people I know there, from the reporters, everyone, people don't give up. There is no stone left unturned. We're talking to every single person who could be involved, neighbors, dog walkers, like everyone would have started speaking. And that's how I think that's half the reason that TMZ is so good at what they do, is because they're journalists at heart. They're reporters. They're people picking up the phone and making the phone calls, the hard phone calls, and breaking more news than anyone else. And they don't give it up. I would say that that's the one thing. Also, TMZ, when there's a big story, you're going to have like 5 or 6 different news articles on the same topic every single day. Like when Michael Jackson died, I was like, Michael Jacksoned out because of the amount of stories we were publishing on a daily basis. It was like, okay, we need to find other topics here. Like we're talking to the dude who worked on the This Is It tour as a background dancer, like everyone. It was a news story, and anything they said became a news story. So it'd almost be too much.
Yeah, and it would Dax saying also back in the 90s during the trial, the more credible was not the NBC, ABCs, it was the National Enquirer. And it was all these other, they called tabloid magazines, that actually had all the facts, and they became legitimate. And I think TMZ was the same way. They became more and more legitimate because you guys you were hungry. You went and you talked to the dog walker, you talked to the neighbors, and you relentless with everything to get to bring out the every kind of clue.
I think exactly what you're saying. Like TMZ also had that same stigma as like, oh, it's just tabloid, another National Enquirer. But what people didn't realize is we worked really hard to always have this level of like, no, we are credible. This is somewhere that, as a CNN and MSNBC, you can talk about our stories with credibility and know that you're not putting out false information. But that took a long time for the general public to also understand. It took a Michael Richards rant. It took the Mel Gibson arrest. It took Tiger Woods. It took Michael Jackson to finally get people to go, oh shit, like they're really, everything that they put out is 100% accurate. When you want to know if someone dies or died, where do you go? You go to TMZ because you know that it's going to be up there if it's true.
Well, you're getting an alert 5 seconds after the person dies if you subscribe to TMZ. That's how quick they are. Kato, isn't it funny back in 94, right? When you saw news trucks pull up all the time and that was your life, right? News coverage. You look at an NBC, a CNN, an ABC, and you think, oh my gosh, these are real journalists. They're real credible people that are going to get the story. The world has flipped. Everybody knows they are a flat out joke.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone would even want to work in local news like I did for 15 years. It used to be glamorous and fun. Now I think there's a stigma attached to it if you work in local news. But now the ones that were considered not credible are the ones that are credible, the TMZ of the world.
Well, I think the big news is that you get the news and everybody knows it's true is from X, Elon Musk. Everybody goes there for the news now. And he put up a statistic on X saying that more people are coming to his platform for the real news. And I do. I go right to Twitter.
Yeah.
And, Dax, and we had on our show Jill Shively. Jill Shively sold her story to, I think it was hard copy. And I've always said, who cares? It's still a fact. She sold it. Why was she not a witness then? And if you guys offer money, TMZ to money, it doesn't take away that it's a real thing. It should have no effect on anything because it's still real. It's a fact. And if it helps solve a case, I don't care if someone paid her $200,000, still use it because it's true.
Well, so let me stop you there, Kato.
Okay.
Because, so I will let me clear the air here. TMZ doesn't pay for stories. And I know that is something that people believe. That is not the case because money changes stories. People embellish stories. People change facts to make it a more profitable like situation for themselves, right? Like if I was going to tell you, hey, I have photos of Rihanna, and I know the whole story of her getting beat. Well, I'll pay you, again, this is all just BS, but let's say, they $500. Okay, but I'm going to tell you more details about how he really beat her. Okay, and now I'm going to pay you $10,000. You know what I'm saying? So like, you can't always believe people and their stories. That's why TMZ doesn't pay for stories. They don't want to pay for it because people change their situation.
But how about paying for video where there is no story? It's just fact of seeing something.
Yeah, no, video, every news agency out there pays for videos, pays for photos because there is now something to see. It's real, which I would say this day and age, I start to be like, I'm kind of glad that I'm not buying photos and videos for TMZ anymore because for people that don't know, that was my job at TMZ. I was a clips clearance producer. I was buying all the content, the paparazzi photos, the videos from people on the street, all of that, and looking through all the agencies to, put out whatever information I thought was interesting to the world. But this day and age with AI and manipulation of videos, I would be nervous to be in that role now because am I actually buying a legitimate video of someone or is this a deep fake of a celeb doing something douchey that now puts our credibility on the line?
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Nextiva. I'm so glad Tom Zenner introduced me to Nextiva because I'm a business owner and they have the proper tools for me to use. Tom, tell our audience more about Nextiva.
Thanks so much, Kato. And you're exactly right. You and I both have small businesses. Our audience members own businesses. And let me just say this. If you're using your phone to close business deals, not only are you mixing business and pleasure, you're sabotaging your chance for success. It's a fact. And I'll tell you a quick story. Before I had Nextiva and it changed how I operate my business, I would use this for everything. So I would have it set to block potential spam calls. And it cost a deal we were working on for a documentary that we were trying to finish. So it worked for me, and I know it'll work for you as well. Now, not only does it look amateur, but you and your team are probably using 18 different apps to get your work done, right? Let our sponsor of this video, Nextiva, cut this down to just one app, just one. Nextiva consolidates your business voice, texts, video meetings, and CRM inside of one app. You get seamless, personalized customer interactions across all channels, and you can do this even if you are currently running your business off your personal phone and your CRM is a spreadsheet. You don't need any tech experience either. You just need to download their app and follow the easy setup. You make this one change and your business will look as polished as a Fortune 500 company. It's worked for me. And now you'll be able to focus on closing and scaling your business. Hey, this is the year to level up your business and lower your costs. So go to trynextiva.com/Tom Zenner. That's trynextiva.com/Tom Zenner, or use the link down below in the description to get 50% off your plan. 50%. The link is in the description of the episode as well.
So is there always a paper trail like the Tom and I were discussing the Diddy, the video in the hotel? Can someone find out who sold that video to put it out there? Or if it was even sold, or someone just released that video, which is so damning to him?
No, I would say, well, for the most part, TMZ, at least I know TMZ, I can't speak for every agency out there, but they really protect their sources. So there's not going to be a leak of where it came from, who it came from, because if you lose your sources, you then don't have a source that could be huge for you down the road. You know what I'm saying?
And you could also put their life in jeopardy sometimes. I mean, some of this information, people will kill over it. No question.
Yeah.
So,
because it affects their life, and they will go to extreme lengths to figure out who spoke up, or who, what was the person that decided that they needed to get that story out there on.
Dax, that's a powerful job you had, deciding which video comes in, what you deem credible, what you're going to use, what you're going to put on the air. That's a lot of negotiating. Was that part of your job, or did you have a set budget for, if it's a 1-minute clip, it's this. If it's a paparazzi photo from Craig's, it's that. Or did you have to go into every one of these and negotiate and try to see if it's legit?
What's funny is I didn't realize what a big job it was at the time. I was just having fun. It's a very voyeuristic job to be the one looking through all the paparazzi photos that come in, because it's literally thousands of photos that come in through the night. And you get the people walking down the street coming out of a club. You get the people who are drunk, but you also get all the nip slips from Mexico, or the, naked photos of this and that. And to me, it was just a fun, fresh out of college job. So I didn't realize that the power that I had in looking at content and then putting it out, number one, on the website, but then on the TV show. And then they have the second TV show, TMZ Live. And so it was really fun back then. There was negotiation, but no, you have set prices with agencies and stuff like that you've already negotiated in place. And then the bigger stuff is, the exclusives, all of that is when you start to have to wheel and deal. And that's when I became a very good negotiator.
I don't know the years that you left TMZ, but something that always bothered me, because I love the comedy world. I have a lot of friends that are comedians. And were you at TMZ? I always wondered what the real story is with the Bob Saget situation. And I don't know if you were there at the time.
What story? When he died?
Yeah.
No, Dax was gone by then, because that was 2 or 3 years ago. He died in a hotel room in Orlando.
Yeah. What is no one knows, did he trip and fall and hurt his head? Or I've always heard
whack his head on the, I forget
it was something like that.
I forget all the details of it. But yeah, I was long gone at that point.
Kato, one thing I think TMZ and Dax, I think you guys would have done back in 1994 if TMZ was around for OJ, you probably would have investigated or searched the limo that Alan Park drove, because he told us that, we had him on the show a couple times. He told us that he had to tell LAPD, hey, you might want to go check out the limo. And this is 5 days later before LAPD actually looked at the limo. And Alan lived in Torrance, I think. And the owner of the limo company who he worked for lived across the street. So the cars were around in his neighborhood. I think that thing you would have been all over. And I also think, I think
TMZ would have taken a ride in the limo.
Oh yeah. You would have disassembled it. Right.
The amount of times that TMZ has broken information or found evidence and had to then hand it over to local law authority is crazy. I can think of a good example. So my podcast co-host, Adam, he's out in New York. He was, if you would recognize him if you saw him, because he was one of the guys that was doing all the reporting from New York. But I remember when the Amanda Bynes story was big and she was kind of going a little wild, and there was an incident that was reported about her throwing a bong out the window of her apartment. And Adam actually went, and this is, again, it was the nature of a TMZ reporter. He went over to where she lived, kind of looked around, saw where her apartment was, and it was there's a theater right next door. He literally got himself into the theater, then asked to have access to the roof, and found the shattered glass from the bong on the roof of this theater and took pictures. And the second that they put that up on the website, NYPD showed up like minutes later to be like, we need to see this evidence. Like stuff like that, where it's just funny how the reporters are kind of thinking outside the box and what else can we do? And then ends up handing over evidence to the local authorities because we were just
that the authorities never went to the roof themselves. That Adam did it. Adam Colombo.
By the way, throw in the comment section what mystery you'd want solved if you could, like we handled at the top of the show. We had some good ones, some pretty good discussion there. You know, Dax, I think somehow you guys would have got AC Cowlings to probably talk maybe at the time, you know, especially the day that he was arrested as an accomplice on June 17th. But I think I could see that where TMZ would have played a role back in 1994 if you were around, because, you know, there's so much mystery and I think he holds a lot of answers to the entire mysterious saga of OJ.
Think of all the ancillary characters part of the OJ Simpson trial. And if TMZ was around back then, there would be a lot more like paparazzi footage, videos, them coming in and out of their homes, going to the gym, going to dinner, doing all those things that turn into sound bites. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kato, I don't know if you remember, but before TMZ, there was paparazzi, of course.
Yeah.
But they would videotape, and that was it. The thing that TMZ did different is we started making questioning out on the street a normal thing. Like, you would get asked questions. You wouldn't just videotape. Now it's asking questions. How can you break a story by just asking a question, what the answer is from that person? So I think that kind of changed the game. And now everyone asks questions when they're paparazzi.
Very familiar with that. I think a guy named Woody. You remember a guy named Woody? Was he?
Yeah.
I don't know if he was part of your staff or not, but he was definitely one of the big.
He was he did his own thing.
Yeah. Whatever it was, there were so many at that time. It was just out in the street waiting for you, and then everyone, the video cameras, the camcorders, just asking questions. And sometimes you didn't know who was who, but they would introduce them. And
we made the street interview like a thing that became super popular.
It still goes on today.
Yeah.
Hey, Dax, there's no question about it. If TMZ was around in 94, you would have been camped out around Kato 24/7. Kato, Kaelin, 1994, and TMZ. There would have been a special show. What did Kato have for breakfast today? What was Kato's jogging route today? What celebrity did Kato run into when he was running? Kato, Kaelin, and TMZ? Are you kidding?
Back then, Dax actually called me to rent my hair. Jesus.
It would have been a very different situation.
Dax, you give it, 6, 7, 8 months, man. I think you could have the Kato do going.
Well, I think about that. Like a lot of people that are involved in these big trials become celebrities. I mean, Kato, you became a very big celebrity off of this whole trial. But I think if TMZ was around or if that trial was happening today, you would be offered all kinds of stuff. People would be hitting you up because they want you to go do appearances at their clubs. I mean, It would be this whole thing because people love ancillary faces and characters.
Yeah.
I think throw the Bronco chase into the mix too with TMZ. I think maybe somehow Harvey would have ended up in the back seat by the time they ended up at Rockingham. I was either going 10 miles an hour on the 405 right now. I think I can get in here.
I could be driving the Bronco with the Hawk Tool girl.
Yeah, Dax, I think you shocked a lot of people when you said TMZ doesn't pay for stories. I think you shocked people. Now I get it. You don't pay to go create a story or to pull something out of thin air. But there's a lot of money that changes hands when it comes to data, IP, photos, things that can enhance a story. What's the biggest price tag that you can talk about that you negotiated when that was your job? What was the biggest check cut at TMZ because of you?
Oh, well, that would be, I can't tell you because I don't want to get sued.
Is it more than 6? Let's just start like this. Is it
I can't tell you, Tom. I would love to.
Okay.
But I will have Harvey all up in my business real fast. Now, obviously, because that was my job, my sole, I was doing all the negotiations. I obviously know the price tags and all of that stuff. But a part of working there, I wouldn't be able to reveal that, unfortunately.
What does Harvey's voice creep into the stories now? because he's not as personally involved in day-to-day at TMZ. He's doing the ancillary programming for Tubi and Fox. You know, you have all the TMZ Investigate show. Does he still look at copy? Does he train people how to write? How does that consistent voice come out of TMZ, especially when you have a lot of young writers who clearly hate Trump, right? I mean, that's been kind of the tone on the site, even though I know Harvey and Donald Trump were friends. He did a big piece on him, you know, a big show on him before Trump was elected in 2016. But to keep people's political biases out of something like TMZ, is that a priority at TMZ, do you think?
So in regards to his voice, I think the whole website was created on his voice, right? So you've got the senior staff members there that have also been forming this voice for years and years and years. And so I think even if Harvey isn't necessarily in every story or reading it or doing the like that voice has been formed at this point, right? Like it's sarcastic, it's crazy, but also it can be very straight to the point and get your facts out. I think that was established a long time ago. But I can tell you, Harvey Levin is the hardest working person in Hollywood. So even though you see him doing these Tubi productions and TMZ studio productions, every day that I was there, that man was the first person in the office. He was the last person out of the office. He had his hand in every story. He was, you know, recording the TV show, but then goes back to his desk, approves stories, then goes and previews the show when it goes out. And then, you know, was recording TMZ Live and then had it, you know, he did everything. And it's just because TMZ is his baby. And I think he truly enjoyed it. So, he really does have his hand in everything. At least when I was there. I don't know current day, but I'm pretty sure he probably does.
Dax, Harvey had a special that he did on the OJ saga and what he thought happened. And there was a couple interesting takeaways from that. Number one, he thought that Al Collins' Bronco was used. They switched, you know, after the murders, that maybe he went into OJ's office building and took off the bloody clothes, dumped the knife, and then switched into AC Cowling's Bronco or vice versa. That was a big, big revelation. What do you think of that? Have you bought into any of those kind of alternative theories, or, you know, Harvey's only going to, you know, it was kind of a hunch on his part, but what's been the feedback that you've heard? I know you don't work at TMZ anymore, but what'd you think when you saw that? Did that make sense?
I mean, listen, I was so young when all the OJ stuff was happening that to me, I don't feel like I am the perfect person to ask all that to. I feel like it's interesting. It's an interesting idea or conspiracy theory. I just don't know the fact. Like Harvey knows the facts inside and out when it comes to the OJ Simpson trial. Like he was there every day covering it. And so if he thinks, hey, there's a possibility, it gets me interested, but I don't feel like I have the facts to say, no, that's not possible.
Yeah. I think it's a far-fetched theory, but, you know, Harvey's entitled to a theory only because of timelines, and everybody on our shows, we've done these timelines. But I always thought about the Al Collin thing, because you remember at that one point, whoever his agent was at the time, had said, you know, you got to get an 800 number to see, I think it was called what AC thinks or whatever. But the guy has never, ever done an interview, I don't think. And he was OJ's best friend.
I think he wants to keep it that way, probably, right?
I just like he's the code of silence or something. He's just never heard from him again. And now he's OJ's age and health or where he even lives. I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows where he is or what he does.
Kato, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You had said when you came on my podcast that you still had the key to the guest house. Do you still have the key to the guest house?
I do. The guest house has been destroyed. They knocked the house down, but I still have that key. I don't think it'll open anything except some dirt.
Yes. That's a huge part of history, though, that you have in your hands.
You know, I mean, Dak, the stories, there's so many stories that I have, and some of them are macabre stories of people that I'd met in my life that I've told this to Tom before. I'm very positive person. I'm very much the light. I've had so many people that are on the bizarre angle that I've met through my life. And I mean, met and been with like recording sessions with Phil Spector before anything. I knew Phil Spector. I know pretty well, like been invited to go out with him. I go, well, that's a bizarre thing. And he ends up murdering someone and
Yeah.
dying. I think he died in prison. I don't know where he died.
Are you trying to say that you're the common thread between all these murderers?
It's weird that the dark of these. Well, it's so bizarre. And then I opened for a. Speaking of Guest House Key, I opened in Chicago back in the day. I introduced the band Smashing Pumpkins, who were extremely popular in the 90s. I introduced them, and the band that opened for Smashing Pumpkins I introduced was a group called Pantera. Pantera, heavy metal, and I didn't know much about Pantera, but they did a video with me in it. They make their own whiskey. They're out of Dallas. I had the best time of my life with them and Billy Corrigan. And people said, "Oh, you're in the album with the video with these guys." And I just remember making them laugh their asses off. Well, 3 months later, Dimebag Darrell sent me the guitar with my name engraved in marble with his engraved in the guitar. I still have it. And then he gets murdered on stage, I think in Ohio. And I'm just all these bizarre things. But I've always been this positive life force. And I'm not kidding you. It's just a bizarre thing that has happened. So I have the Guest House Key. I have the guitar.
And then have you told people how you used to date Amanda Knox? I'm just kidding.
I had to go back in my mind and go, Amanda Knox.
There's a possibility. Let me see.
No. You're mixed up. I went to the school of hard knocks. It's totally different.
Dad, he brought the key. I think it was our first or second episode. So if you're watching this, go into our archive on YouTube and go to one of our first couple shows. We showed it. And I had the same reaction you did. I'm looking at that thing. I'm going, holy crap. Larry King was obsessed with that key too.
I actually offered to give it to Larry, and Larry said he didn't want it. Goes, I
don't understand why it's not like framed. Just it's a piece of history. At the end of the day,
well, it's
people
got a little
buy
thing on
weird crap. You could. I mean, it's a huge part of your history.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, back to Kato's key for a second. The last time I saw it, he had his Costco card hooked up on it.
Tom, that was a Blockbuster card. I still have that, by the way.
Yeah. Just because, our audience is so big into the OJ scandal, too. I'm going to flip back and forth a little bit as we carry on this conversation.
Yeah.
But, Kato, can't you see TMZ back in the day in 94? They would be at that McDonald's on Monday. If they knew that OJ and Kato were there, they would be talking to him in McDonald's employees. And I think Skip Junis, the guy who saw OJ, I think TMZ would have been talking to people at the airport. Did you see OJ? What was his demeanor? What time did he arrive? Did he do anything?
My whole tie into TMZ is Harvey Levin was one of the first people I met in New York at the whiskey bar, owned by Randy Gerber, married to Cindy Crawford. I'm just name dropping, but that's where I met Harvey. Harvey and I became friends, and I think it was that bar. It was the Hudson or something, but one of the hot spots of New York. I was traveling, and Harvey and I sat and had a drink and talked for hours. And that was my relationship with Harvey. And I can say from this day, we've been friends. That's over 30 years that I've known Harvey Levin. So my whole thing has been sort of a life of TMZ, even though it wasn't then. But Harvey, obviously his mind, he had that idea brewing already. And because like you said, Dax, this guy's always thinking, always working. And, I consider him a friend, not
that won't come on our show.
That will come on eventually. That will come on eventually. I believe it.
I'm sure he'll show up one day.
Kato just needs to turn the heat up a little bit. Maybe we just give him some date options or something.
Yeah, I do.
No, I get it. That's not your style. I get it.
Just,
pretend he's a Milwaukee Brewer pitcher who just blew a lead. Okay, that's what you...
Then he'll never do the show.
Dax, you've got to look at Kato's X feed when it comes to the Milwaukee Brewers. And by the way, the Brewers love him. They want him to come out and throw a first pitch, right? They want him to come out and throw opening pitch.
The PR department, greatest guy in the world, Mike Vassallo, who I love. He's a great guy. Todd Rosiak, Adam McKelvey. All these guys are with the Brewers. And when he went to Anaheim, went out with these guys. Fantastic. They said, Kato, we'd always want you to throw out the first pitch, but we can't the way you talk about the team. So I tried to tone it down. I toned it down for like a week until I saw him losing. And then I was like, oh God, I got to go back to being me right now.
That just means that you're a true fan. That's all.
But Dax, you've got to read
passion, 100% passion.
If he got a licensing deal on poop emojis, I mean, my God, He'd be a billionaire. And then the funny thing is Kato said I toned it down. No, you didn't.
I did for like a week. I keep going. If I got to get a promotion. I always say the team's full of diarrhea. I think they should call it Kato Pectate and give me a little percentage there. And just something goes on. Thank you, Dax. I'll take the freaking courtesy laugh.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So I'd say communicate with Harvey through X. Get your ass here.
Yeah, I know.
Next Wednesday.
I did text him, Dax, and we'll see. I think he will eventually.
I think he will too. He's so obsessed with the OJ stuff that I'm sure one day when you get him on, it will be an amazing episode because he loves to talk OJ.
Yeah, and we definitely will. Right.
But until then, you got me.
Hey,
we love
loving
you,
it. By the way, you may recognize Kato. How about Dax? People are going, do I know him from somewhere else? And there's a really good chance you might. Shark Tank. And then, once people know this Dax, it's so typical and, you handled it perfectly. But Dax was a contestant on Shark Tank, got to pitch a product with his partner for their company called Trophy Smack, which is an amazing company. They've taken trophies to the next level and they're blowing up. But when they were looking for an initial investment seed money, they went on to Shark Tank. And Dax, you were the one front and center. You got to talk to us about that experience, like the timeline leading up to it and what it was like being on that Sony lot and facing the sharks.
And before you do, I got to say something to Tom. Dax, obviously we know each other, and Tom, this is the greatest thing about Dax. I didn't know this. I saw the video. He's so humble. You're so humble about something that is so amazing that is why I think you've got so much success that's going on. And I mean that. Dax, it's incredible what you did. I saw the episode. I was like, I've known Dax. He never said anything. That's why, dude, honestly, kudos to you from Kato.
Well, thank you.
It's really amazing. And now I'll let you talk about this because I saw the episode and you are so good. And everybody wanted to buy the product.
Like you couldn't even tell that we were completely pooping in our pants the entire time because it was the most nerve-wracking thing that we've had to do. But me and my business partner, Matt, we started up this business back in 2018 and so we're in a fantasy football league together, and that's kind of how it started. And we realized that there's no good fantasy football trophies out there for something that a bunch of grown adults are playing. And then you spend months and months just like talking crap with each other. And then at the end of it, you would walk away with like a trophy that your kid gets in Little League. And we were like, come on, like we're adults. We've got more money than we had when we were younger. Like let us have a good trophy, something to be proud of. And so we started making trophies, and that's where it just blew up. Like year one, we pulled in $800,000 in sales on like this concept of trophies. And then by year two it was 1.2 million. And it was just like growing so quickly. And people kept saying, go on Shark Tank. We're like, we know we want to go on Shark Tank. Like, we don't need your advice. We know we want to go on it. We know that just the exposure that could come from it. And it took us quite a long time. It was like a good year and a half of, jumping through hoops and all of that. And,
why is that? Why a year and a half? What do they do that makes you wait a year and a half? If you have a great idea, you have a great idea. So why does it take so long? You may not be
in the audition process time. Like if you miss the timeline, then you got to wait for the next year. And then they need to do a lot of research on you. You need to prove yourself and take videos. And, the audition process is lengthy. But at the end of the day, when you're standing there in front of the sharks, I think that's the moment you're like, wow, this is real. Like when you look back and you're watching on the show, what you don't see is us just standing there like, oh my God, I see Cuban, I see Lori, I see Barbara. Like that was really cool to be in that moment and looking at all these sharks looking back at us and saying, wow, we finally made it here.
Yeah, Kato, I'm with you. He nailed the audition or the pitch because he was so sincere. Yeah. And your broadcast background certainly helped because you were smooth and fluid. You could do it in you can get 2 minutes because you can't waste a word. Well, you can't. Because they're staring at you. It's intense.
And you probably have done a TMZ story at one point on Cuban himself. I imagine he even know you?
So we brought up the TMZ connection. it kind of came and went, it's really funny because Cuban was at TMZ over the holidays. He was doing some guest hosting.
Right.
And Harvey brought up, he goes, there's a TMZ connection, a Shark Tank connection with you, and it's Dax. And he looked at him like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Dax, like from Trophy Smack? He goes, yeah, you don't know that Dax used to work here? He goes, well, I don't remember him mentioning it. And then it like got into this whole thing, and it was hilarious that, I don't call Harvey. Like, it was a really funny bit. It's up on my Instagram if you ever want to see it.
Yeah.
But that came out and I'm like, I did tell you I worked at TMZ. Like, I didn't hide that fact. You hear it on the show. But it's funny that like Cuban knows me from Trophy Smack, not from TMZ.
Funny.
So does Cuban actually, is that you're with Cuban now? You sold to Cuban. Do you?
He's a business partner.
Yeah, he's a business. So does he?
Yeah, we didn't sell to him. He's obviously involved. He is a business partner, but we didn't.
Who does the PR?
Sell to him.
Does he help out with PR?
Yeah, I mean, if we need to, he's awesome. Like, that's the one thing I would say. Getting into business with Cuban, like, the guy responds to emails in like 5 minutes. I don't know how. He's got so many portfolio companies, but yet if we need him, we can reach out to him. Like, we had an issue, I think like a year and a half ago, where our Amazon page just got like shut down. So, and this is in the middle of our peak season where everyone's buying trophies for fantasy football. It's going crazy. So to have a big sales funnel shut down on us was a big deal. We were calling everyone we knew. We made one call to Cuban. He put in one call and our Amazon page was up like in 10 minutes.
It's amazing. It's
so those are the moments you're like, this is when it is helpful to have.
I don't think Mr. Wonderful could have done that. I don't think Barbara could have done that. You made the right choice, or he made the right choice partnering with you. I'm good friends with the showrunner for Shark Tank, Clay Newble. Great guy. You probably met him.
I
during
love Clay. Clay's awesome. He buys his fantasy football trophies from us.
As well, he should. Clay's a great dude. And I know the process. I've gone to Sony and watched tapings. Shonda and I have a great picture. I'll put it up. Shonda took Damon John's chair, and I go way back with Damon John. But it's you can feel the pressure there, because imagine hearing that music, dun, 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 dun. I don't know if they play it when you're actually taping, but how long did it take to get the money? And did you, and so was it worth it?
Yes, it's worth it. I think due diligence, because what people don't realize is just because you do a deal on the show, that doesn't mean it's a forever deal. Like, there is due diligence afterwards where everyone is really digging into the books. They want to make sure that they're getting into a deal with a company that is who they represent it to be, right? Like, you can say, oh, I did $800,000 in a year, but like, prove it now. I want to see the financial documents. I want to see the bank statements. So that process takes a little bit, but I would say maybe 6 months later, we had some fat checks rolling into our bank account because the deal had signed and we closed.
He talks about it. Cuban talks about this one being one of his best investments. Clearly he's gotten his money back and more. And, every year, I'm sure the value of the company keeps going up, but it's a great business. That's a great story. We'll show the clip from the holidays when Cuban was at TMZ, because it was funny. They were all wearing Christmas sweaters and Cuban literally was surprised. He couldn't really put that together at the moment. By the way, Cuban is the guy, Dax and Kato. He'll give you his personal email, and he gives it, like, the media people that reach out to him, and he always responds. That's always been his case. I did one of the first interviews with him when he became an owner. I was in Boston at the time at Fox, and he had just purchased the Mavericks, and he was with the team in Boston. I remember interviewing him at the time, and just how kind of naive and maybe not so much, but when it came to like big time professional sports, and the Boston market's a pretty tough market. It was interesting to see the transformation of him. But remember, back in the day, all he was known for was yelling at the refs and getting fined. That was his that was his identity back then.
Yeah, it's wild to see how far he's come, and what he's doing with pharmaceutical medicine, and like he's done a lot, and for me, I don't think I realized how good this transformation, because I was nervous to go outside of entertainment, right? Like, that's a tough transition to. Right. But at the time, I'm like, oh wait, you see all these celebrities that are doing shampoos and drinks and clothing and this and that, and you realize, like, Hollywood doesn't last forever for people. Like, you could get kicked out tomorrow, and to have a alternate stream of revenue is so important for a lot of people in Hollywood.
Because I'm a huge sports guy and I love sports fan. Have you been approached, or do you guys ever want to do a? It just sounds like one of those stories that should be on like the pregame show of Fox or a pregame show of something. Of first of all, fantasy football is gigantic. Have you been approached, or is this something? It just seems like it's a no-brainer for you guys in your company to go and show guys doing fantasy football. I know how crazy it is. I've got friends that are they're fanatical about it. It's just like a no-brain story that I don't know. You need help with PR, but isn't that a built-in story?
I think if there was a camera in our office every day, we have the most incredible staff, but we also have the best atmosphere, fun atmosphere. Yeah. We're always joking around, goofing. I'm like, I see these other shows like Tanked or whatever, and I'm like, our office is 10 times funner. It's wild. We're pulling pranks on each other all the time. We have a bowling alley upstairs, like at the office. We have the coolest. I'm like, how is there not a reality show going on with our office and all the characters and weirdos running around here? That would be a show.
Where's the office?
So what is it?
Where's the office?
We're down in Orange. So kind of Anaheim area near Disneyland. But yeah, it's like we have a full like 3,000 square foot game room at our office, which is full of pinball and pool and ping pong. And
then on Sundays you must have the parties there on Sunday or any football NFL game, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, the office became the spot to go during COVID when they shut down everything. We had our own personal Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah,
I gotta hang out.
Oh, it's cool. Dax. I've been there. It's a great office. By the way, to get that reality show though, Dax, you guys got to have some sexual scandals inside that office. Then it could throw the dynamics of the work process off a little bit.
Dax, seriously, are you wearing a jock and a cup right now?
I'm not wearing any pants right now.
Working for Harvey, and this is a question we wouldn't ask him, but you work for somebody like that. I've worked for people like that have created empires essentially or kingdoms. They're intense. You talk about the early days with Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Bezos, I'm sure, was tough to work for. There are stories about Harvey being very, very tough to work for. And I remember when I was interviewing there, when you guys were launching TMZ Sports, you could feel tension in the newsroom. I felt it. I felt like there was always an urgency and kind of this, like, not darkness, but you could feel how important this was. And it was palpable. Yeah. There has to be some stories of Harvey throwing phones, going off, berating. And not that that's a bad thing, but it's an interesting thing. And you must have seen it, right? As he built this?
No, I mean, listen, I worked from him from literally the beginning of TMZ. Before TMZ even launched, I was working with him. I would say there's definitely moments where you're about to break the biggest story in the entire world. And there is nerves, there is tension, there is stress, because you can't put out this news, like Michael Jackson dying and be wrong. So there is a certain level of anxiety that goes beyond that. And I would also say, in a normal job, you're not trying to beat 7 other entertainment shows from breaking the news first when the news is potentially going to be out there. So yeah, I think any newsroom that you're going to walk into is going to have that same level of craziness, stress. I mean, there's not a single show that I've worked on that is stress-free and amazing. So yeah, I think some days were harder than others, but I don't look back on my time there as a negative thing. I feel like I learned so much, and especially from Harvey himself, on how to report, my work ethic as a whole. Like when I left TMZ, I was like, wow, does anyone else work? Like, why am I feel like I'm working 10 times harder than everyone? Because he instilled like a ridiculous amount of work ethic into me. And I also feel that it opened a lot of doors. People knew that if you worked at TMZ, you know how to work and you know how to break stories.
Discipline, and Harvey was passionate.
Yeah, and he keeps calling you to do some freelance work, which isn't a bad thing either. Like you pop up on TMZ periodically, and that's got to be great.
No, I have a very good relationship with everyone at TMZ. And, it was such a good stepping stone for my career that I don't look back on it negatively at all.
Okay, this is your last chance, Dax, before we wrap this up, to tell us the biggest check you wrote at TMZ. I'm giving you one final opportunity here, and I want a number, and I want to know the story, And I want to know the backstory. So go ahead. Just shield your face, disguise your voice.
And who it went to.
Yeah, and who it went to. Come on.
Okay. All right. I'll tell you one. And it's a big one. It's for the Jay-Z and Beyonce elevator video. So I ended up writing a check for...
I think you froze on purpose.
Oh my God!
You think I would
so
tell
smart.
you? You're out of your damn
Oh my
mind.
God!
Get
You did
outta
that like
here.
it's some sort of technical glitch. I'm going. What are the odds that it breaks right there?
That's where we love Dax right
By
there.
the way, what you didn't hear at home is Dax just said the check was for $1.78 million.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Get out of here. I would never tell
froze
you
on that.
any of those numbers.
No numbers. We
All
know
right, we
that.
almost got you. Okay, nice try.
And you know what, Dax? Because I'm a prankster, I knew it was a freeze up, dude. I'm going, I think he froze up as a joke.
I mean, come on, man. You didn't. And plus, you got the perfect backdrop because there's nothing in no clock or nothing moving where you can see.
I'm gonna stay in touch with you, Dax, during football season, even before. Anyways, Tom and I both really appreciate your time and your stories.
Yeah, hey,
It's
promote
a
Hollywood
book.
Raw. You and Adam, the show.
Listen, Hollywood Raw is one of my babies. I love it. It is my outlet to Hollywood post TMZ. We break a lot of stories on there, big news stories. We basically do 2 episodes a week. The Wednesday episode is generally an interview with someone in the entertainment industry. We don't like to have just celebrities on. We're not like that. We like to kind of pull back the curtain on Hollywood, talk about the real side of Hollywood, set up paparazzi shots, what it's like. We've had flight attendants who worked on private jets come on and say what the celebrities like to order or the craziest thing they've seen. We've talked to personal chefs. We've talked to paparazzi. We've talked to bodyguards. I mean, some of our bigger episodes have been Justin Bieber's bodyguard came on. We've had Kim and Kanye's bodyguard came on. I mean, we've had all these really interesting people that tell the story you don't get to hear. But then on Fridays, for people that are just diehard celebrity news buffs, maybe not have the time to read up on all the different paparazzi, the different websites and magazines, we will break it down. We'll give you the top 10 stories of the week, all the details, so that you go into the weekend and feel informed and know what happened this week in entertainment news.
So Trophy Smack, he does a podcast, goes to Spain, has a family. You do it all, man. And it's fantastic. Are you at the office now or at home?
Yes, I'm at the office right now. I'm at Trophy Smack now.
Well, when you find a little extra time, go back into our archives and watch all our OJ coverage. Since I know you weren't around back then, it's we had some good stuff. We got Alan Park, Tom Lang a couple times. We got all the key witnesses, and we have some big guests coming. Kato and I are working it every day. So the names are going to be, one-of-ones, when it comes to the OJ scandal. So they're coming up here on the show.
Well, that's the man to talk to right here.
Yeah.
Dax can get us anybody.
All right,
I love
Dax.
it, guys. I love watching your success. I remember when you guys started off, and now I'm seeing it just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So congrats on all your success on your podcast as well.
No, much appreciated, Dax. And thanks for taking some time today. Okay. Good luck with everything else.
Hey, Tom, that sounds like a participation trophy for you.
yeah, but I'll tell you what, it'll be freaking insane. I mean, it'll be about Trophy Smack makes it. That participation trophy is going to be, it's going to have diamonds. And
I mean, you guys want at least a championship belt, not just a trophy. We got championship belts. We got rings. We got turnover chains. We got it all.
Yep.
I love it.
All right, guys.
Hey,
okay, thanks.
Dax, see you, buddy. Thank you.
You know what, Kato? Go back and listen to this on our audio. Go back and listen to all our content. The OJ stuff, we're going to keep it coming as we go 2 episodes a week. So big guests with OJ scandal coming up.
I know that we made some calls to probably
the people that everybody want to hear from.
Yeah, exactly. Following the comments we have made those calls to certain people, trying to get them. And
we're in touch with them. It's going to happen. We're going to get them. So a lot to look forward to. Comments, load us up. Great episode here with Dax. And, talking about everything. If TMZ was around back in 1994, some of the biggest mysteries that are still out there that you like answers to. Okay, you're off to Iowa.
Nope, I'm going to go to Colorado.
Colorado this time.
But if it goes to Iowa, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah, you're in big trouble. You just came from Iowa.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you support our sponsors. Make sure you go back into our archive and catch up on all our great content for the one and only Kato Kaelin. I'm Tom Zenner. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Dax. If you want to check out a couple other real hot episodes, click right here and find out if there's enough evidence to convict the suspect in the Idaho murders. You might be surprised. And click right here and find out who the real Nicole Brown Simpson was.